Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I say this every time, and genuinely I try and get better, but I'm just busy. But like, it's been a while. I was kind of like umming and ahhing on what I wanted to record and film for you guys today, so I reached the conclusion I'm gonna just talk about A levels and GCSEs. I've done both of them, the pain of them. But yeah, I thought I'd just like share my tips and like my experiences, like how they were and things like that. So yeah, let's get on with the video. So the first thing I want to touch on is like GCSEs, because obviously you do that first here in the UK, and compared to A levels, GCSEs were like a walk in the park, and I'm not even kidding when I say that. GCSEs were so easy. At the time, you think they're like the hardest thing in the world, and to be honest, at the time it does feel like that. When you go to do A levels, you have no idea. So for my GCSEs, I didn't do as many as most people because I'm dyslexic. So I obviously did the classic English language and maths. I also did science, so I did physics, chemistry, and biology. But I did that as a dual award, so I only ended up getting 2 grades for it. I also did business, graphics, and geography. And yeah, I think that's everything that I did. Like I said, I didn't do very many compared to a lot of people. Like I didn't do English literature. So from my experience, English language and maths. Obviously, the system's changed more now from what I think. Maths was definitely not that hard for me. Like, although I was in a lower set in school, I did do the foundation, but like the foundation paper, but it was honestly like really easy. And when I was actually learning in school, the teacher wanted me to go into a higher set and do higher maths, which I'm glad I didn't do because I could have struggled there. Obviously I will never know. But yeah, so I didn't do that, and I found like maths was pretty easy. The only thing I would say with maths is you've got to be able to remember things such as like equations, and that's my weakness. I'm not the best at remembering things, which is really annoying because in exams that's what you have to do. So definitely you need to have that, like all the equations remembered, and you know, good luck. English language I also thought I was in the bottom set for English language, hence why I didn't do English literature. And I found that English language, it was quite, I found it hard. I think that was my dyslexia though, so that's, whatever. But yeah, I loved learning English as a subject. I thought it was great, and I loved the creative writing part of it. I know when I did my GCSE, which was in 2017, the third paper I think it is, where you have to write a persuasive piece. I know that got me a lot of marks, so that kind of thing. And I also found that like with English language, it's a lot easier than it looks. I used to overthink the questions and be like, what are they really asking for me? And things like that. But I really have to shout out to my teacher, because without her, I genuinely don't think I would have got my English GCSE. So for English and Maths, I came out with a 5, which I think is equivalent to a high C, low B, which is pretty cool, and I'm pretty chuffed with that, and I'm glad I didn't have to do it again. With science, I found physics was hell, not gonna lie. Physics was just not my subject, but thankfully because a lot of people hated physics and weren't very good at physics, the boundaries for my year were definitely very low. So I think I came out with a C for my physics. And then for biology, well, that was my favourite. I loved biology. I think it's such a great subject. Kind of wish I did it more now, which obviously I don't, but I'll get onto that. So yeah, biology, I definitely love studying biology, and the exams themselves were really, really easy. But once again, that was because I was on the foundation paper, so yeah. And yeah, I love biology, and when I got my results, I found out that I actually got pretty much full marks on my biology paper, which even though it was a foundation paper, I still think that was pretty good to achieve. And then chemistry, obviously, chemistry is pretty hard as well, like physics, but the grade boundaries aren't as low as physics, so you don't do as well. And then chemistry for me was just a load of numbers and letters that just went inside my head and came out. That was definitely not something I enjoyed alongside physics. It just wasn't my thing. And yeah, I don't really have any tips for science as such, because I find that they're all so different, and some people may find chemistry easier than biology or whatever, so I can't really comment on that kind of thing. But what I will say is some of the questions are asking a lot more than what you might think. So certain like vocabulary you need to learn, and spelling, because I know like if you spell osmosis wrong, which is the diffusion of particles, I think, then you need to be able to spell that right, because you will lose marks for that, which is pretty annoying, especially if you're dyslexic, but thankfully I memorised them all. And then moving on to business, I absolutely love studying business. It's probably one of my favourite subjects to study. I think the whole knowledge of business, I think it's great to have as well in like just life in general. I love learning about shareholders and franchises and different methods of payment, which all sounds probably really boring to some of you, but I absolutely love studying that. And I mean, the one thing I would say with business is you have to learn equations for certain parts of the exam, which, like I said, I'm not very good at. So when it does come to the maths part of the exam, I always seem to do really badly, which is surprising because I did still pass my maths GCSE. But yeah, I'll get onto my A-level business as well, because then, yeah. And then studying geography. Geography wasn't an easy ride for me, I don't think, because I don't like physical geography. I love human geography. I love it. It's great, wonderful. But physical geography, I just found like it's hard to relate. I don't know why. I think that might just be me, but I don't know. Things like the coasts and things like volcanoes. That's like interesting. It's interesting stuff, but I don't like it. Like I just kind of take it in and just like, yeah, okay, kind of understand. I'm just gonna go with it. And actually, what was really funny with my geography exam was my teacher was like, I'm going to put you in for foundation, not higher. And I just turned around. This was after like one exam I'd done, like test kind of thing, mock exam, and I didn't do very well. But I was like to my teacher, I don't know why I'm so proud of this, but I turned around to my teacher and was like, Sir, how many times do you do a test in science to make it a fair assessment? And he was like, looked at me like, And I was like, you know the answer? He was like, yeah, 3. So I was like, yeah, exactly. So why are you putting me on foundation when I've only done one test? I was like, well, you make a fair point. So I went back onto higher and I did come out with a C, which I'm super happy with. I love that. He didn't think I'd pass, so yep. But yeah, no, geography is a great subject if like you like that kind of thing. I don't know why I'd be doing it if you didn't like it, but I definitely think human geography is a lot more interesting, and you can relate it more like tourism and things like that was such a great thing to learn about. And it also had a side of business, and like I said, I loved business so much. Okay, so the last GCSE I did was graphics. Now I like to think I'm quite a creative person, and I'm good at I'm alright at drawing. I'm better on the computer and things like that. And for my GCSE, I actually managed to get an A star in my coursework, I was so happy about that. Like, that is just crazy, and I was super chuffed with what I got for that. I do say with graphics, if you are taking it as a GCSE, you need to dedicate your time, your passion, and your energy towards it, because you're not going to come out with the grades you want if you're just slacking. I know a lot of people struggle with that in school, so like just do it if you like. Don't do it if you're not motivated, because you need to be, because it's a lot of work for just, it is. I think it's like 60% of your grade or something like that is your coursework, or at least that was what it was for me. And it was it was emotional. It was a roller coaster. I loved it, I hated it. It was all these things combined. I loved the practical side of like the building of my product. I ended up doing a children's play set. I'm just going to insert a quick photo here. I think I can show you that. But yeah, I loved graphics as a subject. And obviously you have the exam part of it, which I'm not going to lie, I struggled with drastically. Like, I it was all stuff like the chemical side of it and things like that. And the paper that actually we had wasn't anything like the teacher predicted. And I know you're not meant to go off the teacher's predictions, but yeah, I did, kind of. And it just wasn't great, and I actually only got a D for that, so I only came out with a B at the end of my the GCSE, so I did drop 2 grades because of my exam, which kind of sucks, but it's probably my own fault, and I know it was the last exam ever, and it was a week after everyone else had finished, so I was really not feeling it. So don't let that happen to you, because I failed for that reason, because I just wanted to just finish. Yeah, with graphics, just dedicate your time. And that's all I really have to say for GCSEs. Like I said, they're not as important as your A-levels. A-levels are so important. Now, I went to a private school for my GCSEs because of my dyslexia, and my parents felt that I couldn't go to a state school within my area because I didn't have enough support, which in their defence I do think was the right decision. I absolutely loved my time there at private school. I might as well just say where it was, because who cares. It was Queen's College in Taunton, so it was a lovely school. I loved it. Obviously the difficulties of private schools are there are a lot of people that are very snobby and they care about themselves and things like that, and just a lot of like bitchiness, which is not ideal. But no, all in all, I had such a great time doing my GCSEs. Obviously it was stressful. I was also going through like a breakup, which wasn't ideal. It was just a lot of palaver for a load of nothing, really. I look back and I think, like, why did I let that affect me? Because it was so not worth any of my time. But you know what, I really loved GCSEs despite the fact it was a really bad year for me. I had a lot of things happen during that year, which even now I get upset thinking about, but you know, I let it go. But yeah, GCSEs. I think it's now time to talk about A-levels. A-levels, wow. Okay, so to get into the college that I wanted to go to, I had to have 3 C's in my GCSEs, which thankfully I got. No, was it that? No, I just had to have a C in everything. Yeah, so that's great, which I got, thankfully. Now, I went to Rich Jewish Taunton, which is apparently one of the best state schools, sixth form colleges there is in the UK, which is really great. And my mum actually didn't want me to go, which is kind of crazy, but just to like put it out there, going to Rich Church was like the best time of my life. I actually made friends that I know are going to be with me throughout anything, and I love that. The whole 2 years of A-levels, apart from the actual exam bit, I loved everything about it. I loved what I was studying, apart from one of my subjects, which I'll get onto. But the whole GCSE thing for me, no, A-level thing for me was just great. I learned, I developed, I'm so happy as to where I've come out with and things like that. Like, I'm just happy. The whole experience was just amazing, apart from like the first term. But that was because I had just adjusted, you know, I was used to like really small classes with maybe like 5 people in it to like 20 people, and it was a big adjustment, and I didn't adjust as quickly as I liked, because I was also dealing with some issues, which is great. But yeah, so that is just a brief thing about what I thought my college experience was like, or should I say my high school experience, whatever you want to go by. So for my A-levels, I did business, graphics and sociology, so 3 of them. I'm not clever, so I didn't do 4 or 5. So I just want to start with business. So my business was actually a BTEC business equivalent to 1 A-level, and I cannot stress enough how great that whole course was for me. It was, I think, EduCAS, which was the exam board was, and I absolutely loved my teacher. She was so lovely and really supportive of whatever, and you know, despite the fact of it being a BTEC, there was still a lot of work that had to be done and went towards the grade that I ended up with. You know, it wasn't like no exams. There was 2 exams that actually were the biggest contributors to the whole entire thing if you put them together. And the whole business experience for me was just crazy. Like, I loved it. We learned about so many great things like shareholders, finance, marketing, things like that. And we did a lot of case studies, so we did them for Mini, Coca-Cola and everything else. And one of the exams was to actually design a brief for a marketing campaign, which is really great because I want to study marketing at university. Now, I absolutely loved everything about business, like I said. But one thing I will say, and advice I will say for business, is you cannot slack off at any point. You know, if you're doing a normal A level, you can miss a lesson and catch up. With business, there isn't that opportunity to do that. I know a lot of people that did miss out on lessons ended up not getting the grade they wanted, which is not ideal, but what can you do? So yeah, that's the one thing I would say with my business BTEC. Just, you need to be focused, you need to be on it, do not miss lessons unless it's like an emergency. And yeah, I mean, it was great, I loved it. So that's my tip, just stay focused and see your goal. And then going on to graphics. Graphics at A levels was not as enjoyable and as good as GCSEs. I don't know whether that was because obviously it was bigger and more serious or something, but I definitely found that I struggled more with graphics at A levels than I did GCSEs. Maybe because I wasn't as passionate, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, I didn't like my teacher in the first year, which obviously contributed towards the fact that I didn't really enjoy it that much. My teacher didn't actually remember my name for the whole entire year, so he would just point at me, which was really annoying. So I definitely don't think the first year of graphic was great, and I also had never been used to like Macs and Adobe software. I hadn't had that at my previous school. I was using like all the rubbish ones. So it was definitely a cultural shock, kind of going into that professional culture that I had not been used to and everything like that. Now the example we used was AQA, which was it was an average, you know, kind of exam board. So in the first year, nothing actually went towards my final grade. So that's kind of good. It was just kind of learning everything, understanding the computers, which I definitely needed, like, yeah. But at the end of the year, we did have a mock exam to see like where like I am now. And I think I only got like a D. But no, D or E, I can't even remember. However, they did find that a lot of students got that, and actually the majority did badly. So that kind of gave the kick in the bum for all the teachers. And yeah, we also didn't get given enough time for the project. So, you know, there's a lot of things that added up as to why we got a bad grade. It left a lot of people angry and things like that, which is completely understandable, and I was angry too. So then in the second year, obviously it was time to knuckle down and just do it. I don't really know. So obviously you have your coursework part of the syllabus, and then you also have the exam, but it wasn't like a written exam or anything. So for my final coursework thing, we just had to create something. It was very loose on what we had to create, but we just had to create something, which was kind of great because you could just kind of do whatever you wanted, and I love that aspect of it. So what I ended up doing was a marketing campaign for Colourpop, the makeup brand, which was super crazy. I loved it so much. I loved the whole process of it. I thought it was like a great introduction to what I think might be my career. It was amazing. You know, we conducted photo shoots. I had to do the packaging and the nets and things like that. It was great. And actually, you can see from my coursework the journey I went on from, you know, from being quite, well, it was inspired by the galaxy, so it was really cool. But yeah, I found that after I'd done my related study, which was also part of the exam, it was just like, it was worth a smaller percentage. It was still important. I focused that on sustainability, and after like looking back on my project, I was like, this project, like this packaging isn't sustainable. It doesn't look good. I'm gonna completely strip my design, and that happened quite late on in the process, and my teacher was just like, are you sure you want to do that? But I'm super happy I did. I ended up using eco-friendly packaging and things like that, and everything was very green and it was very healthy, and I just absolutely love that process of just making it eco-friendly. I like to think I'm kind of eco-friendly, like I'm very particular on recycling, and I don't eat meat and things like that. Obviously I could always do better, you know, I have kind of long showers, and Obviously, I don't think that really, I mean, that might affect like loud, I don't really know. But yeah, I like to think I'm good. And then that project was super fun, so I'm just going to insert like a quick picture. Once again, I'm not sure if I can do it, but here you go anyway. So yeah, I love that part. And then the third and final part of the exam was the exam. I just said it. So the exam itself wasn't like a written exam. Like I said, it was a smaller project that just had to be done. So with this one, you did have choices you had to pick from. So I can't remember what it was. It was like plastic, silver.
A few moments later.
What did I even do mine on? Oh yeah, street art. Yeah, okay. There were other ones, but that's what I can remember. So I did mine on street art. Now, I gone from doing a project over the course of 6 months to a very short period of about a month. Now, that experience was in itself very stressful. You had to do a whole lot of writing. It wasn't just all creative. Like, you had to explain why you did this, what you're going to do next, things like that. And I didn't do as well as I'd liked on that. I think I only got a C, which kind of sucks. Because I know my previous one would have got a B, so it would have been nice to come out with a B, but I didn't. I came out with a C. And yeah, so it wasn't great. I'll insert a picture again. So I focused mine on feminism, and what I did was a street art campaign with Girl Up, the charity that focuses on women independence and things like that. So it was super cool. I loved it. But what I came out with was just not what I wanted. I didn't like it at all, really. I got to that point where I was like, well, it's too far down the line now, I'm just going to have to go with it. Looking back, there are so many things I want to change about what I did, and it's a shame that it's now done and that, but you know, whatever. Can't do anything about it now. But yeah, I'm very disappointed in how it came out. I've never actually admitted that, but there you go. Okay, so yeah, in graphics, I came out with a C at the end, which was a grade lower than I was expecting, but I think a lot of people were very frustrated at the fact they got lower grades than what they wanted, so you know, what can you do? And then my last and final A level I took was sociology. I hated it. Absolutely hated sociology. I hate essays. I mean, I don't hate essays. If it's something I like, then I'm alright, but I hate essays in general, pretty much. Sociology was one of the hardest things I've had to put myself through, like mentally and academically. It was very hard. The grade boundaries were very high. There's a lot of I'm really bad at remembering names. I don't know whether that's my dyslexia or just myself. I'm really bad at remembering names. Like, I can't remember them. And obviously in sociology, there are a lot of sociologists you have to remember, which I am not good at. And then I also found that there's so much writing, and being dyslexic, I found, you know, maybe I missed words, and so it didn't really make sense, and I'd lose marks because of that and things like that. So it was all down, I think a lot of the struggles I had was down to dyslexia. So throughout the first and second year, really, I was getting like E's and D's, which was really bad. And at one point my teacher said, I don't think you can carry on, like you're not going to pass. And I was like, no, I am going to pass. I've come this far, I'm not going to give in now. So my parents, I'm so grateful, but they actually got a private tutor to come out and help me, which honestly, the best thing that ever happened to me when it comes to sociology, because I would not have passed if it wasn't for him, the teacher. So my teacher at college was actually kind of crap. He went too fast, things like that, and we didn't get on really. He was my tutor, but one time I was in a test and I didn't know the answer to a question, so I kind of left it blank, and then he came over to my table and would like shout at me and be like, this is not what you're meant to do, but wouldn't say it to the whole class. So I was just like in balls of tears, like, oh my gosh, like he literally just showed me off in front of the whole class. And then he was like, why are you crying at the end? I was like, anyway, it still triggers me now. And a really awkward thing was, actually, I had parents' evening that night, so yeah, I thought maybe he wouldn't discuss it with my dad, but he did. Yeah, sociology. Don't take it if you can't remember things very well. Don't take it if you are slow. Just don't take it. And actually, when it came to the exams, the first paper I know was a great paper. I love that paper. It was like socialization, family, and education, which was that was like a great bit of sociology, and I love learning about that. I didn't like remembering it, but I like learning about it. I know that paper went pretty good. And then the second paper was methods of sociological inquiry. So you kind of just had to make a question, like a study. I had to conduct a study, but I didn't actually do it. I would just write it down and what I would do. And then the last paper was crime and deviance and inequality, I think. Yeah, and that paper was kind of hard. All the questions you didn't want to come up came up. But I came out with a C, which was kind of great. I'm really chuffed that I came out with a C, actually. I was crying when I got my results because I was like, I didn't think I'd do it. I genuinely thought I would not do it and I would have failed and things like that, because I know a lot of people struggled. And not to honk my own horn, but I know the cleverest of people in my class did not get the grade they wanted and came out with like D's and E's, and I came out with a C. I definitely think the college need to assess their teaching situation because the grades I think were the lowest they've ever been, which is not ideal. But yeah, that is what I think about A-levels. Now I'm just going to give some general tips on like just exams in general, okay? So don't stress. Yes, you're going to be stressed, but don't. Try as hard as you can not to stress, because it's only going to make the whole experience a lot more painful and a lot less tolerable if you're stressing. 2, focus on revision. Like, I know you want to go out. I wanted to go out so much and do things, see my friends and things like that, but I couldn't. My parents would probably say to you right now that I was literally stuck in that dining room and I didn't move really at all. Because I knew what the outcome I wanted to have this outcome, and I knew I needed to do certain things to get that outcome, which was revision, of course. And being dyslexic, I had to revise for a lot longer time. Another thing I like to touch on is, no matter what the grade is at the end, as long as you've tried and you've given it your all, then that's what you should be proud of. Don't bring yourself down if you don't get the grade you wanted, because chances are you're not the only one that didn't get the grade they wanted. And you know, maybe if you get it remarked, you might actually come up with a better grade. Who knows? I didn't get any of my grades remarked for A-levels, but I did know I got my physics remarked in for my GCSEs, but nothing actually changed, which kind of sucks. But yeah, just remember, relax, don't stress too much. Live your life, have a week off, have a weekend off, have a day off. I mean, I'm not saying that's the best idea, but I found that when I had a day off, that just suited me really well, and I came back kind of fresh. And yeah, and also you've got to sleep. Sleep is your new best friend. I found that if I had a really bad night's sleep before, I would not perform as well. So you need to have your sleep, and definitely stay hydrated, eat loads of bananas. I found, and like I ate a lot during exams because I stress eat. I'm one of those people. So I mean, if that's how you cope, just do it. Just know that you might gain a few, which is totally fine. But yeah, guys, I just want thank you so much for listening. I hope you found this helpful, and yeah, I'll see you in the next video.